Hello everyone, welcome to the fourth day in genetics. Today I am going to discuss about the rest of the Mendelian inheritance disorders, autosomal recessive disorders, X-linked recessive, X-linked dominant. Remember, autosomal recessive disorders, they actually make up the largest category of Mendelian disorders. Remember, in autosomal recessive disorder, both alleles of a gene has to be mutated to manifest the characters. What are the features? Number one, fine, they does not usually affect the parents, but siblings shows the disease. The chance of a sibling to get a disease is 25%. Am I right? Yes. Suppose if a gene which causes some genetic disease has a low frequency in the population, there is a strong likelihood that that mutated individual is a product of consanguineous marriage. That means consanguineous marriage is highly associated with inheritance of autosomal recessive disorders. What are the difference between dominant and autosomal recessive? Expression is more uniform, complete penetrance, onset in early stages of life. Fine? Yes. And in heterozygotes, equal amounts of normal and defective enzymes are synthesized. And finally, yes, so these are the points you have to remember. Consanguineous marriage, more uniform expression, complete penetrance, onset early in life, and equal amounts of normal and defective enzymes are synthesized in case of heterozygotes. Examples, very very important. Please always study the examples system wise, like how I have told autosomal dominant disorder, nervous system, urinary, GI, hematopoietic, skeletal and metabolic. Similarly, autosomal recessive, metabolic. Almost all disorders, cystic fibrosis, phenylketonuria, galactosemia, homocystinuria, lysosomal storage disease, fine, alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, Wilson's disease, hemochromatosis, glycogen storage diseases, hematopoietic, sickle cell anemia, thalassemia, congenital adrenal hyperplasia. This has been an MCQ question. Congenital adrenal hyperplasia, it is autosomal recessive, not dominant. Then some variants of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Most of the variants of Ehlers-Danlos syndromes are autosomal dominant. Then Friedreich's ataxia, spinal muscular atrophy, all these are autosomal recessive. Okay, and alkaptonuria you already learned in biochemistry. Fine. Coming into X-linked disorders. X-linked disorders. We have X-linked recessive, which is the most common, and very less common is X-linked dominant. Remember, X-linked recessive, males will be affected and females are carriers. That is the single point you have to remember. An affected male does not transmit the disorder to his son, but all daughters are carriers. This is the only single most important point you have to remember. In case of X-linked recessive, males will be affected, daughters will be carriers. Okay, very very important point. Then examples of X-linked recessive condition, again system wise, musculoskeletal, we have Duchenne muscular dystrophy, fine, blood hemophilia, chronic granulomatous disease and G6PD deficiency and G6PD deficiency. Then immune A-gamma globulinemia and Biscuit-Aldrich syndrome, very very important, A-gamma globulinemia, Biscuit-Aldrich syndrome. Then diabetes insipidus and Lesch-Nyhan syndrome. Nervous system, Fragile X syndrome. Fragile X syndrome, it is actually a type of trinucleated repeat mutation, even that is also X-linked recessive disorder. Fine, yes. Then coming into and remember, see, G6PD deficiency, which is a very common condition. Okay, then X-linked dominant. Okay, that means in X-linked dominant condition, they are transmitted by an affected heterozygous female to half her sons and half her daughters, by an affected male parent to all his daughters but none of his sons. Simple. In X-linked dominant, if a female is affected, half sons and half daughters will be affected. At the same time, if a male is affected, all his daughters will be affected, but sons won't be affected. Simple. I am writing it here once again. I am writing it here. Female is affected. Female is affected. 50% sons will be affected. 50% daughters will be affected. At the same time, if a male is affected, 100% daughters will be affected, whereas 0%, that means sons not affected. This is X-linked dominant. The two examples are number one, Alport syndrome. Next is vitamin D resistant rickets. Vitamin D resistant rickets. Very, very important. Okay, so please remember this point. X-linked recessive, an affected male does not transmit the disorder to his sons, but all daughters are carriers. Simple words, males will be affected, daughters will be carriers. Example, Duchenne, hemophilia, G6PD, Discord-Aldrich, Leschnyhan and Fragile X syndrome. So with this, we have finished all the important, okay? And remember, there is nothing called as Y-linked inheritance. Why? Because the males with the mutations affecting the Y-linked genes, males with the mutations affecting the Y-linked genes, they are usually infertile, and that is the reason why there is no Y-linked inheritance. So already we have studied X-linked inheritance. See, the males are said to be hemizygous. Okay, fine. That is why these disorders are expressed in males. Then we have discussed about X-linked dominant, vitamin D resistant rickets and Alport syndrome. Thank you.